Let's head into the jungles of South America and hope we come out alive. Let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And let's head into the jungles of South America. But before we take that trip, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here. I greatly would appreciate that. And today we're going to talk about 1987's Predator, which kind of goes along with my Arnold. This is like a 3 for Arnold reviews, but this is also the beginning of my Predator review series, which will be going on over the next month or two. I'm going to sprinkle in other films in between reviews for this series, so stay tuned for that. But yes, we are going to go through every Predator film and the AVP films and then do a ranking video once we get through them all. This film came out June 12th of 1987. It's rated R. It's an hour and 47 minutes long. Had a budget of $15 million, and upon release that summer, it made $59.7 in America and $98 worldwide. Now, this was John McTiernan's first big theatrical release. He did No Man's in '86 with Pierce Brosnan. That was more of like an independent type film. Then the year after this, he went on to do Die Hard and The Hunt for Red October and The Last Action Hero, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Just those 3 films alone, this film, Die Hard, and The Hunt for Red October, is enough to crown this man one of the greatest action directors of all time. And those films are legendary at this point. Now, for our badass group of some of the manliest men ever put on film, we're going to start off with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dutch. He is the leader of this small special forces team. And we also got Carl Weathers as Dylan. He is playing like a CIA operative that Dutch has been friends with for a long time. Bill Duke plays Mac, and Bill Duke was in Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jesse Ventura plays Blaine in this film, and he, the same year this came out, he was in The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sonny Landham plays Billy, and he was in 48 Hours, directed by Walter Hill, and he was in other films as well, but 48 Hours is pretty much where a lot of other people know where he came from. Richard Chavez plays Poncho, and Richard Chavez in the 90s did the War of the World TV series. I don't know if anybody remembers that. If you do, leave a comment down below, let me know. Shane Black plays Hawkins. We'll talk about Shane Black in a moment. The great character actor R.G. Armstrong plays General Phillips. He's in the beginning of the film and the end of this film. And Kevin Peter Hall plays a Predator and a helicopter pilot at the end of the film that picks up Arnold after the Predator self-detonates. Yes, this is going to be spoiler heavy. This movie is since '87. I'm assuming most of you, since we're all fans of horror and action, 80s action here, have seen this film a time or two. I would go out on a limb and say so. But if you've never seen this, is going to be spoiler heavy. But do yourself a favor. Check this film out. Now, this film, what makes this film so special, and I do consider this one of the greatest action films of all time, and sci-fi and horror wrapped into one, but we'll consider just an 80s action film with sci-fi and horror elements, the simplicity of this story. And basically, this film is, in the beginning of the film, we see the spaceship going towards Earth, and then we cut to our team of special forces operatives that get summoned to this little village and get talked to by General Phillips and Dylan about going into South America and rescuing some American hostages from these guerrillas. And that is the story. They go into the jungle and they go to this village and basically take everybody out in a great 80s action set piece, well directed by John McTiernan, just like the whole film is. And then things change as they realize they're being hunted one by something that they don't know what it is, until we finally get to see the Predator in all its glory. But it's not until into the second half of the film until we actually get to see the whole Predator from head to toe. And of course, it's badass. And that is pretty much the Predator. And they're trying to get to this their extraction point, and it comes down to Arnold versus the Predator. And we get one final battle between one of the biggest dudes on the planet and this big ass alien. And then the end of the film where the Predator self-terminates and Arnold is the last man standing besides Anna, this woman they pick up from the village who already found the chopper, and he gets picked up, and that's the end of Predator, baby. The simplicity is what makes this movie so special. It's a very simple story, but so well executed, so well told, so well directed. The effects kick ass even to this day. The Predator suit by Stan Winston is one of the best designs of a monster ever in cinema history, and it holds up extremely well to this day. I just watched this last night on 4K, and do yourself a favor. You don't own it on 4K, but you have a 4K TV and a 4K player. Pick this up. You can pick up this is the box that has all 4 Predator films in it, but you can get the single 4K Predator disc for $15 on Amazon right now. So do yourself a favor. If you're a fan of 4K and you're a fan of this film, pick it up because the transfer is pretty damn good. It's the best this film's ever looked. Arnold's great here. The whole cast is fantastic here. Probably the one little weak link, and I like Anna's character. She's just this woman who gets drug along on this story because they find her at this village and she's the only survivor because they kill everybody else. Her accent goes in and out in places, but overall she's fine. She's probably the one weak link here. And Shane Black's here, and the reason, reportedly, even Shane Black has said this in interviews, the only reason he's even in this movie is Joel Silver, who produced this film, thought the script might need a little bit of work, so he figured the way to get Shane Black on location is to give him a role in the film. So he became Hawkins, and he's in the film. He gets to tell some dirty jokes throughout along the way until he's the first one of the group that gets killed in that awesome scene where, they try to find his body, and then Jesse Ventura gets killed, and we get that great firefight scene where they're just mowing down the jungle and they hit nothing. So yeah, he's in this film. That's the reason he was there, and he got hired to play Hawkins in this film because Joel Silver wanted to do a little bit of work to the script, and they figured the way to get him there was to bring him in and give him a role in the film. Now, historically, and this is widely known at this point, but you can check it out, some of the footage is on YouTube of Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally cast to play the Predator, and the Predator looked a lot different when they first started shooting. It looked more like it had this big long head, and it looked more like an insect kind of thing. It looked awful. You could see photos of it online and even video footage of it. Van Damme only shot in this film for 2 days. I think he actually is in the movie as the Invisible Predator when Hawkins gets taken, but he was removed from the project. It's reported he quit after 2 days. He didn't like being in the costume, and he realized they weren't going to be able to see his face, so he really didn't want to do it. Plus, the producers and everybody on the set, even the director, was unhappy with the costume itself, or what the Predator, the Hunter, was called, because this film was originally called Hunter. It was later retitled Predator. So they got rid of that costume. Van Damme was gone, and they brought Stan Winston in, who did the Terminator in '84. And had a lot of clout in Hollywood, and they brought him in to redesign the suit and make the suit, him and his crew. And the mandibles on the Predator's face actually came from an idea from James Cameron. Stan Winston famously said in an interview that he was on a flight with Jim, and he was sketching what the Predator was going to look like. And Jim Cameron happened to make the comment, you know what would look cool on that thing? Mandibles. So Stan Winston put them on, and he even credits Jim Cameron in interviews, if you ever seen an interview about this film. So that's pretty cool. Stan Winston, and obviously the design is classic at this point. It's, again, like I said earlier, it's one of the greatest designs of a monster ever put on film, and it still holds up extremely well, even in 4K. It looks amazing in 4K after all these years. The Predator only actually gets 8 minutes of screen time in this film, but it makes such a large impression, and obviously we're made to feel like it's so omnipresent throughout the film because we get those shots of his heat vision watching our group of special forces operatives going through the jungle. And so it's always around, but he doesn't kick in action until after they take the village, and he kills Hawkins and then Blaine shortly thereafter. This was the second biggest opening in '87. The first was Beverly Hills Cop 2. The direction by John McTiernan, this is one of the best action films ever shot and ever made of all time. It's so well done. And the jungle feels like its own character. It feels like it's so unforgiving, and this environment is so... They shot this down in Mexico, and they really capture that essence of it. And John McTiernan milks certain scenes for all the suspense he can. Like the scene where they set all the booby traps. They don't know what they're dealing with yet, but they realize that it's something that they've probably never seen before. And when Arnold goes out into the traps to try to lure it out, he really does ratchet up the tension there. It's a very suspenseful scene. Then we get that awesome jump scare when the Predator gets caught in a net and taken up. And then we get that, scene where the Predator's firing, and then Poncho gets taken out by that log. And we're heading into our last act of the film, where we get mano a mano Arnold versus the Predator. And it's the one point during the film, especially that last act, where the Predator is actually being hunted by Arnold. I like that that switcher-upper of the Predator's been hunting them the whole time, and Dutch, and now Dutch is hunting the Predator. And then we get that awesome scene where the Predator takes its face mask off, and we see him in all of his glory. And Arnold says that famous line, "You're one ugly motherfucker." And then we get our battle between Arnold and the Predator. And obviously they set it up where the Predator would have killed Arnold if it wasn't for Arnold's ingenuity and tricking the Predator with the trap that he had set. And then the Predator self-destructs, and we get the end of the film. Honestly, this is an amazing action sci-fi horror film. It's one of the best of all time in its genre. for sure. And like I said, John McTiernan had this, Die Hard, and Hunt for Red October, and with those three films alone, that's why you have to crown him one of the best action directors of all time. And he is, no matter what you think of the man for what his legal troubles later on, he is one of the best action directors of all time. And it's just because of his first three major studio films. So yeah, this film is amazing, has a great cast. It's very simplistic in its story, and it's very economical in a way we're introduced to our characters and learn little things about them. Not that we get to a deep dive psychologically into these people, but we do get to learn some things from the helicopter ride into the jungle, their interactions with each other, Mac and Blaine's friendship. We get to learn about that a little bit. But this isn't like character. This isn't a character study. This is men on a mission who get caught up in something that they couldn't possibly comprehend and have to deal with it. And we see how capable they are when they take out that village of gorillas, because they kill everybody in an awesome action set piece. And then they have to deal with this other thing when it switches to sci-fi and horror, and they don't know what they're dealing with, and they're ill-prepared to take on. They're prepared for the human element, but this new thing they are not prepared for. And it's just glorious. It's gory, it's violent. The action is shot fantastically. The creature design is amazing. The score by Alan Silvestri is amazing. Just one of the best action films of all time. And I would give The Predator a 9.75 out of 10. Yes, a 9.75 out of 10 for Predator. What are your thoughts on this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with Raw Deal, Predator 2 we got coming up soon. I'll do Predators, The Predator, directed by Shane Black, and many other films. But until then, bye.